guys, welcome back to my channel and welcome back to another pet peeves video. I have done quite a few of these in the past. I did a pet peeves video just in general of my pet peeves. I did a barista pet peeves video, which unfortunately is no longer on my channel, but I did it. It was great. It was funny. I loved it. So I really wanted to do another pet peeves video, but I wanted to have like a subject to do it on, and it just clicked with me one day because for those of you who maybe do or do not know, I am in the process of moving soon, and I was like, oh my gosh, I have never done an apartment pet peeves video. So that's what we're going to be doing today. I'm going to go through a list of pet peeves that I have about living in an apartment. And some of you out there can maybe relate to this video, or maybe some of you out there are moving into your first apartment and you kind of want to know what to expect. Well, I'm here to tell you, I have pretty much lived in an apartment for the last decade of my life. So I have had my fair share of experiences with neighbors, noises, smells, anything you can imagine. I have more than likely dealt with it. So we're gonna just go get this video started. Lord help me, because I know I am going to get very heated in this video because I have quite a few of them and I have a lot to say. So let's get started. So the very first pet peeve that I have for my apartment pet peeves video is loud noises. Now, this totally depends on the kind of apartment you live in. Maybe you live in a newer apartment that has excellent soundproofing. Maybe you're like me and you live in a very old apartment building where there really isn't good insulation and you can pretty much hear everything that everyone is doing in their apartment. So definitely loud noises are the one thing that drive me nuts. I understand that when you do move into an apartment, it is not yours. You are not completely alone. You have people above you, next to you, underneath you, all around you. So obviously you're going to hear noises. But what I mean by loud noises is from inconsiderate neighbors. Because some neighbors seem to think that once you're in your apartment, you can be as loud as you want. You can play music as loud as you want. You can have your TV up as loud as you want. No! I cannot stand loud noises. And me, right now, I am being loud and I am being obnoxious, but that's because no one else is home. If you live in a very small apartment and no one else is home and you're the only one home, by all means, blast your music, play your TV loud, yell as loud as you want! But when people are home, be considerate. And loud noises are something that just drive me nuts. And I understand sometimes things fall, or you break a dish, or you fall in the shower, or whatever the case may be. But I'm talking about really purposely loud noises, like loud music, vacuuming in the middle of the night. It just drives me up the freaking wall. I can't deal with loud noises. I just spit everywhere. I don't know if you guys saw that, but yummy. And I'm the kind of person, I like to keep to myself. I am very quiet. I am very much a couch potato. So I'm the perfect candidate for an apartment. But if you're someone out there who likes to be loud and obnoxious, then an apartment is not for you. And don't put anyone through that torture because it drives us all nuts. To go along with kind of the loud noises is neighbors. Oh, I just love neighbors so much. Yes, when you move into an apartment, you are going to be very, very close to your neighbors. And I'm not talking about in a nice, friendly, chit-chatty way. I'm talking about sometimes in your apartment, they are going to be about 10 feet or less from you between your door and their door. So basically, you're living in one giant house with other people. And sometimes you get really lucky and you have really nice neighbors. They're very clean, they're very quiet, they're great. But sometimes you get the worst neighbors that you could possibly imagine. And I highly encourage you guys to go on YouTube and watch my horrible neighbor story times because they are so freaking entertaining. I love watching those videos. But yes, it's very much true. Bad neighbors are everywhere. They're absolutely awful. Some people are just very inconsiderate. Some people, I'm not going to name names, but my apartment, the guy who lives next to me, and this actually happened a couple days ago, funny. I mean, now that we're filming this video, we might as well just tell that little story. So at 11 o'clock at night, 11:30, it was a Sunday night, so obviously everyone was in bed early because we all have to get up Monday morning to go to work. And 11:30 rolls around and I hear it just banging, just like someone is banging on the door. And this guy, we've had plenty of issues with him and women in the past. Like, the cops have been here, like, all last summer, the cops were constantly here. He just doesn't have very good relationships. He's a very nice guy, but he doesn't pick the best women to be in relationships with, if you catch my drift. Yeah, I heard really, really, really loud banging, and I was like, what the hell is going on? So I kind of sneak out to my kitchen and kind of look out my door, and there's this woman, like, she had to have been on drugs or under the influence of something, and she was just banging on his door, screaming obscenities, like cussing, and just all this shit. And I was like, oh my god, like, I need to film this fucking apartment pet peeves video, because unfortunately things like that do happen, and it wakes you up out of sleep. Even though you have to get up at 3 in the morning to go to work, some people don't give a fuck, and some people will bang on your door at 11:30 at night and start cussing and screaming obscenities, and then going out to their car and blasting music for the next hour. Like, I hate neighbors, but unfortunately I am not at a place financially where I can get a house in the middle of fucking nowhere where I don't have to be around anybody. So for right now, I unfortunately have to deal with neighbors. It sucks, but you do have to deal with them. Like, my other two neighbors, they're great. The guy under me, fantastic. The guy diagonal from me, great, cool. Everyone's quiet, everyone keeps to themselves. They're great, they can stay. The guy next to me, across the hall, ugh. The next thing that goes along with apartment pet peeves is kids, children, youngsters, infants. So I understand that some people who have kids can't afford to get a house, and sometimes those kids and the parents end up in an apartment. I get that. I understand that. However, it drives me nuts when parents have kids and they don't fucking parent. If you live in an apartment and you have a kid, I understand that they're going to throw temper tantrums. If they're a newborn, yes, they're going to cry in the middle of the night. I understand that. But if you are home with your child and they're like 4 or 5 years old and they are running around, they're slamming doors, they're screaming, they're running around in the hallway screaming, just banging on stuff, stop! Kids and apartments do not mix. And I understand kids will be kids, whatever. But if you're not going to parent and teach the kid that you need to fucking shut up and go color in your coloring book and sit your ass down, then don't have kids, okay? It drives me nuts nowadays to see these parents have kids and then not fucking parent them. It just drives me nuts. And then when you bring them into an apartment, especially an apartment where everyone has been here for a long time and everyone keeps to themselves and everyone's really quiet, and then there's like a kid running around making all this fucking noise and they're running in and out, slamming doors. So like, you know, I understand, like I said, kids will be kids. Sometimes you can't fucking control them, but try, okay? Just try. Be considerate of the people around you. What if your neighbor works third shift and they have to sleep all day and they have to deal with your fucking kid running around slamming doors and screaming? Not cool, okay? So just kind of keep it hush, be considerate. The next thing I have on my list for apartment pet peeves is cooking. Now don't get me wrong, I love the smell of good food. However, if you have a neighbor next to you who is cooking their dinner and it is something that smells absolutely disgusting, that smell of that food ends up in your apartment. Whether they burn something in the oven or they're making something that is totally repulsive smelling, sometimes those odors and those scents end up in your apartment. And you come home from work, you're exhausted, you walk in the door, and the first thing you smell is like burnt cookies or burnt meat or just burnt food or just really disgusting smelling food. And now you have to spend the whole rest of your night trying to wind down while smelling this disgusting food. So the apartment building that I live in now was built in the 40s. This is a very, very, very old building. Like, I can't even believe this place is still fucking standing. Like, it's that old. And there isn't a lot of insulation. There's like no soundproofing. Someone is cooking. My whole entire apartment smells like that food. And it doesn't bother me too much, but at the same time it does, because the last thing I want to do is come home from work and have my apartment smelling like fish, you know? It just really doesn't, you know, make me all nice and happy to be home, if you know what I'm saying. Another thing is pets. Now, I love when apartment places allow pets. Obviously, I live in an apartment and I have 2 small dogs. I love that more apartments nowadays are allowing dogs because not a lot of people can afford to live in a house, but some people love having their pets. So I like that apartments allow pets. I really do. I think that's great. That's wonderful. I love it. However, if you're gonna have a pet, you need to be a responsible pet owner. And what I mean by that is picking up their crap after they go to the bathroom so no one else has to step in it. Number 2 is make sure they're quiet and they're not barking all day. And number 3 is putting them on a fucking leash. There are laws and there are leashes for a reason. You cannot just let your dog out your door and just let them run rampant all around the property, especially when other people have dogs. For instance, I have 2 dogs and both of my dogs do not like to be around other dogs. Jackal is very, very aggressive. He definitely doesn't like other dogs. And Avril just gets very scared and goes into fight or flight mode with other dogs. She just doesn't like it. So I always put my dogs on leashes, and I always am outside with them while they're outside. I'm always keeping an eye on them, making sure everything's a-okay, you know, all that good stuff. But then you have some asshole let their dog out without a leash, without the owner with that dog, and that dog comes tearing around the corner, and then there's a fucking dog fight. That drives me nuts. I cannot stand that. And the reason why I told you guys that little story is because that actually happened to me. Again, with the same neighbor across the hall. He has a Jack Russell Terrier, and that dog is not very nice to other dogs, which I understand. My dogs are the same way. But since that dog is not nice to other dogs, why on earth would you not put that dog on a leash to protect not only your dog that you supposedly care so much about, but to protect other people's dogs that are outside using the bathroom? Okay, it's not like our dogs can go to the bathroom inside the apartment, lift up the toilet seat, do their thing and flush, okay? They're dogs. They have to go outside. So either one, pick a routine that works best for you to take your dog out when no one else is there, like I do. I have gotten in such a routine of when my dogs can and can't go outside because of irresponsible people. Or 2, put them on a leash and keep an eye on them. A whole thing about being a dog owner is like making sure your dog is taken care of, taking them for walks, taking them out to the bathroom, not just letting them out the door and running around the property with no one watching them, and then me, trying to break up a dog fight between my 2 dogs and this fucking animal. Like, I just want to pull my hair out. You know, I love it. I love that dogs are becoming more welcome in certain places. But it's just when you have someone who's fucking irresponsible and doesn't quite grasp the fact that just because your dog is nice doesn't mean everyone else's dogs are. And I shouldn't have to deal with taking my dogs to the vet because your fucking dog bit them. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like, that's another thing that kind of drives me nuts. Whereas if I had my own house with a yard, I would never have to worry about other dogs. I could just let my dogs out. Because I live in an apartment, that's just something that I have to deal with at the moment, which sucks, but whatever. But that's another thing, it just drives me up the fucking wall. The other thing I have on my list that goes around with the cooking smells is cigarette smoking. Now, a lot of apartment complexes in their lease, they state that you are not allowed to smoke cigarettes in the building for various reasons. 1, it's a fire hazard. 2, that's disgusting. And 3, you have neighbors. When you're smoking or doing whatever in your apartment, if you're on a bottom floor apartment, smoke rises and whoever is above you is subjected to smelling whatever it is you're smoking, whether that be marijuana, cigarettes, meth. I don't fucking know what people do nowadays. Cigarette smoking is the #1 thing that I can't stand. Okay, so here's my thing about smoking, is if you're going to smoke, that is fine. I will not judge you. That is your personal life choice. I understand. However, when it's winter time out and it's cold out, and you complain about having to go outside and smoke, so you decide to stay inside and smoke your cigarettes in your apartment, and then it fills up your neighbor's apartment with cigarette smoke because you can't go outside for 5 minutes, then maybe you should quit smoking. If you're going to smoke and put all those chemicals inside your body, I'm pretty sure you can take 5 minutes to go outside in the cold and smoke for 5 minutes. Am I wrong? I don't think so. And also, smoking isn't allowed in the building because 1, if you fall asleep with that cigarette in your hand, you're not only are you going to lose your home or your life, but you're putting everyone else's home and lives at risk. So that's why you can't smoke in there, because cigarettes, they can cause fires. It has happened before, it'll happen again. That's why smoking isn't allowed in apartments. Another thing, it reeks, it fucking smells. If you've ever been inside someone's house that smokes in their house, every little thing inside that house smells, and it's covered in like a yellow film, and it's just absolutely fucking disgusting. Like, if you're gonna smoke, go outside where you're in the air. I mean, I get it, now there's gonna be people in the comments saying, well, if I'm outside, I don't wanna smell it either. I don't really give a fuck, okay? Go smoke outside for 5 minutes, so that way none of your neighbors have to smell your cigarette smoke, and I don't have to deal with it, because that's just absolutely disgusting, and it drives me nuts, and it's a pet peeve of mine, and I hate cigarette smoke inside the house. The other thing that I have on my list of apartment pet peeves is laundry. Now, again, this kind of all varies on apartment. Some apartments have their own washer and dryer in the unit, and some don't. Some it's shared between 4 units, or however it may be, or there may be like a separate laundry room for everyone to go. You know, I don't really know. It kind of just all depends on where you live and what apartment that you live in. For instance, my apartment, we have 1 washer, 1 dryer in the basement that is shared between all 4 units. It's gross, I know, but I've been doing it for almost 10 years, so it's just what I'm used to. So one thing is, if you know that you have to share a washer and dryer with other people, you obviously have to know that other people might have laundry to do as well. Whether that be their work clothes, or their dog threw up all over a blanket and they need to wash the blanket, or whatever the case may be. So when you're doing laundry and someone is doing their laundry, so you're kind of just like waiting around, waiting for them to finish up, and the washer and dryer have timers on them. So when you start the washer and it has like 30 minutes or whatever, and as soon as that 30 minutes is done, you should go out, put the stuff in the dryer, and as soon as the 45 minutes is done on the dryer, you should get your shit cleared out, go back inside so someone else can do that laundry, right? That would be the logical thing to do. That's what I do. I always check the time. I always make sure that I'm not taking up the washer and dryer. However, we always have one fucking asshole who decides to wash a village of clothes, and they never, ever take stuff out on time. They will literally have the washer and dryer from 8 o'clock in the morning to 11 o'clock at night. Does anyone else see the problem with this? Because I sure as fuck do. When you are sharing a washer and dryer, you should be considerate of other people's time. You should make sure that you are getting laundry in and out as quick as you can, just like that. I cannot stand when people put stuff in the washer and they leave it sit there for 4 hours and then finally decide to put it in the dryer and then it sits there for another 6 hours. You know, a lot of people are probably going to say, I would just put their stuff in the dryer for them, blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to do that. I think that's rude. I would never want someone to touch my laundry, so I'm not going to touch anyone else's. I just think that's really gross. Like, we're all adults here. We all pay rent here. So it's best to just be fucking considerate. As soon as you start that washer and you see 30 seconds on that, you best check your fucking watch and you say, all right, in 30 minutes, I'm going to put stuff in the dryer. Once you put stuff in the dryer and you hit start and it starts counting down 45 minutes, you best as fuck be looking at your watch saying, all right, in 45 minutes, I'm going to get my stuff out of the dryer. Boom. It's really not that hard. Just do your laundry and get it done. Don't leave it sit there all day, because then that just puts me behind on all my laundry, and it's just like, why? The next thing that I have on my list is the lack of privacy. When you live in your own apartment, you know, like I already discussed, there are going to be neighbors and there are going to be instances where you're either going to be leaving or coming or whatever it is you're doing, and you're going to have run-ins with your neighbors. That's a thing. Now, if you're a people person and you don't mind it, you know, that's fine, that's great. But if you're someone like me who's very introverted and doesn't like to talk to people, it's very awkward running into neighbors. I mean, don't get me wrong, like, I don't mind running into them just because, like, especially the guy underneath me, I've known him for so long. Like, if I see him, I'll talk to him and have a conversation with him. But sometimes you have, like, a certain neighbor that you just don't want to run into, and that kind of sucks, because if you just want to, like, go out to your car and leave, or you just want to go upstairs to your apartment and take a nap, like, and then you run into a neighbor that you're not really that fond of and you're stuck there talking to them, that's kind of annoying. Also, another thing is, like, windows. Like, I mean, yeah, you could shut the blinds, but there just isn't a lot of privacy in an apartment. You can't really, like, you know, do things that you would, you know, sex being one of them. That's another thing that I have on my list here, but I'm going to kind of put them together as, like, lack of privacy / sex. Obviously, there's not a big thing of privacy here. You know, you're constantly running into people. There's people always coming and going. There's always something going on. You always hear noises, whether that be slamming doors, people fighting, people having sex. Like, I'm pretty sure everyone in this building has heard me have sex before. Like, there's just not a lot of privacy, whereas if you're in your own house, like in the middle of the country, like you can run around naked, you can have sex as loud as you want, and you don't really have that luxury in an apartment. So that's kind of another thing that kind of bothers me about apartments, is just like the lack of privacy. But at the same time, I'm kind of used to it just because like I've always lived in apartments, so I'm kind of like, I know what to expect. Like, I understand everything like that comes with living in an apartment, but I don't like it. I kind of wish there was like more privacy. You know what I'm saying? Okay, everybody, and that is everything that I have for my apartment pet peeves video. Let me know down in the comments what you guys thought. If you have anything that you want to add to this list, make sure you go ahead and add it down in the comments as well. If you are new to my channel, I just want to welcome you. I am BreeAnn. I do upload every 3 to 4 days on this channel, so go ahead and make sure you go down and subscribe. Don't miss out on any future videos. Make sure you follow me on all of my social media. I would greatly appreciate it. But as always, I will see you guys very soon in my next video. I love you guys. Bye!